his way. Get into the bed.
Welcome to Integrating Presence with me, Josh Dippold. This is the second part of a conversation with medium and spiritual counselor Sarah Edwards, recorded July 23rd, 2020 at Mary's House of Healing in St. Charles, Missouri. While we tackle Corona, COVID in the first recording, this one addresses much more far-ranging material. Sarah is an intuitive guide, medium, Usui Tibetan Reiki master teacher, and clairaudient, delivering profoundly wise, insightful, and skillful messages. Find her on Facebook at Sacred Speak with Sarah. As is often expected when starting media production, even after heavy editing, there's still plenty of absolutelys, stuttering, me interrupting and talking over Sarah, environmental distractions, etc., etc. Nonetheless, I feel the depth of what we get into outweigh the verbal annoyances. Topics include Stonehenge, crystals, anomalous pet behavior, New Madrid fault line, ancestral intent, past life trauma, trauma stored in the body, past life fear, river bluffs and Mississippian mound builders, the role of blood, our DNA, and energy in discerning memories of past lives, soul family, tribe, starseeds, galactic heritage, addictions as avoidance and stand-in for needs, balancing the internal divine feminine and masculine, manifesting precognitive dreams, real-time synchronicity, and sensing shifts, discerning between intuitive guidance, empathing mental activity, and thought processes, thinking primarily in words or images, our current meditation practice details, the emplacement of 2020-21, CV, Mandela effect, timeline, and karma shenanigans, challenges with clairaudient readings for visual clients, and translating the multi-layered nature of symbolic messages, time, its unknown speed and nature, anomalous time phenomenon, purposes and purposelessness of time, energy, memory, and fluidity in relation to bodily volition and agency, and soul knowing, kowtowing to the status quo, and finally embracing mystery. To make a correction, I relayed information about humans being put in 5 reality zones during 2020 and 2021, when it's actually after 2020-2021. And in 2135, Density 1 is set to start its extinguishment, but not complete until around 2235. Some of the stuff we mention is our own, and plenty of other stuff comes from sources we don't cite. So please only take what's useful for your journey and investigation. Question all you hear and see here, and then do your own research with this information. Our conversation starts with some conjecture about Stonehenge.
I feel like it's more of it's an energetic vortex. Like, I don't know, almost like a funnel for Mother Earth to send all the energy up. And because who would have built that?
Yeah, that there's all kinds of different theories. I'm not personally invested in any of them.
Oh, I'm not
I
either,
definitely
really.
think it's obviously some kind of intent that most people aren't aware, most normal people aren't aware of. And that theory about, offsetting something and trying to do something energetically, obviously.
Is
right?
Stonehenge one of Mother Earth's chakras?
It's a megalithic site, but there's a lot of stuff, different gates and what do they call them? Different portals, but also ley lines and energy lines that intersect in the United Kingdom. So it's a big place with all the different megalithic sites that are in the UK. They're trying to, all kinds of stuff, and that's a big esoteric hotspot. Well, then you've got the city of London proper, which is
now. Have you been there
control.
ever?
No, so I can't really comment because I haven't been there personally. I'd have to do that. But you know what, Ryan, the Crystal Fest guy, he has a piece.
Does he
runs Blue Feathered Minerals. I think he stocks crystals here, but he had an actual piece. I don't know if it was actually from the stones that were at Stonehenge or just the same type of. I forget the name of this. It was a blue something, the exact type of stone that's used at Stonehenge. He had it with him, and I got to handle it. It's incredible energy, yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I like about Moldavite. Moldavite's one that I really like. Just, you know, thinking about, I don't know, just its journey and where it came from. And
You heard the story behind that, right?
I don't think, I just knew it was a meteorite that landed in Russia, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's well, I know Shungite. Shungite comes from a meteor or something from outer space that landed in Russia, supposedly.
Really?
I don't know
Okay,
exactly.
I didn't know that about
thought
Shungite.
Moldavite was in one, maybe it was Czech Republic. I can't remember exactly.
Let me
But
look it up.
yeah,
Oh, my
it does
phone's
come
right
from
there.
outer space, right? And then it's similar to a tektite, right? Well, the
Yeah.
theory is that whatever hit and then went up into the air and came back down is a tektite, and Moldavite's supposedly like that. Now, I've heard rumors that if there's a Grail cup, you know, in the stories that somebody said that there might have been a Moldavite Grail cup.
You are
Okay,
right
yeah.
about Czech Republic.
Okay. It's one of the ones they sell by the gram.
Yeah, it's a gemstone, is a variety of tektite, a meteorite, found near the Vltava River in the Czech Republic. The Czech name for this green gem is Vltavin, which I don't know if that is even how you pronounce it, but it's derived from its existence and proximity to the river. But I know that it's a stone that, like, not a lot of people can actually, a lot of people struggle with Moldavite. Do
How
you have
so?
because I've heard, you know, sometimes it just makes them really, like, it's just too much energy for
Yes.
them to use. And so it's usually, I've heard people that have actually, like, lost their Moldavite, where it just vanishes. And then it'll show up eventually when the time is right. I know, like, for a while in the beginning with it, it definitely felt a little bit different. But for the most part, I wear it so often now that,
You're used to it.
yeah. Yeah.
The same thing with any really high vibrational stone. It's like, is it Phenakite or Finissite? The one, so Ryan claims that it's
Is
the
it
highest vibration. Is it? Well, there's different kinds. The one that I got that he claims is the highest vibrational stone right now is a crystal clear one from Burma, a really
You know
tiny
what? I
one.
think I remember you showing that to me.
I might have, but it's one of the, what is it, the Synergy 12 stones that are real high vibrational. I actually got a Finissite, Phenakite from Colorado. Colorado's got its own version, but it's not exactly like the Burmese version. It takes me a while to adjust to the energies of some of those. You know, I usually sit with those by myself for a while on their own, right? Then I just usually store them and don't work with them as much anymore. But
That's
yeah,
my problem. I store a lot of my crystals, and I mean, like these two. They
Yep.
just ride around in my purse all the time, and I don't ever, you know, I need to meditate more with crystals. I don't use them.
Yeah, you can just sit with them, and you don't even have to give them the attention that they want or need. You can just bask in their ambient energy too, and just help with whatever else you're doing, sitting with.
Now, I think I read, was it selenite? Selenite, celestite, or fluorite. One of those three, I was reading that you're not supposed to have them by your bed because the energy's so, I want to say it actually might be fluorite.
Well, that's the thing. Fluorite is one of the only few stones that I don't really prefer. You know, it's
Really?
I don't know if it has anything to do with fluoride, if they're similar, you know, like fluoride in the water. So maybe that's it. I don't know.
like it just because, I don't know, I definitely feel like with it, I can connect more with the angels when I am
Fluorite, yeah.
compared to like other
There's so many
things.
different colors of it too.
Yeah, I
green,
know.
Purple, and there's other ones too. Yeah.
And then I read lapis is a good stone if you struggle with sleeping to put under your pillow.
That's a great one. It's good for the throat, you know,
Yeah.
that color too. And that the throat kind of regulates the physical stuff in the head too, and arms and hands.
Let's talk about the energy that's been happening. You don't have pets though, do you?
I don't know.
Do you
I'm
know
good
anyone
with pets, though. Yeah.
that a lot of my animals, a lot of my friends' animals, I've been noticing that they've been acting like really, really strange the past like week or two. I keep getting guidance from Spirit that the New Madrid fault is going
my
to be
goodness, yeah.
shifting, and that it's like it is shifting. Like, but that's the thing. We're not the only beings on Earth that are having energy within our body that's like coming up for healing, and so I feel like that's what's happening with Mother Earth too. And so I keep getting this warning that, and I don't know if it's really a warning because
It might just be something to pay attention to, right?
yeah, and so they've been telling me, like, I feel like I need to be doing healing and sending healing. I've kind of been doing that a little, like whenever I do Reiki, I kind of imagine energy going into, you know, the fault line. But yesterday I kept getting the message because I put a post out on Facebook asking friends, you know, how their animals have been acting. And like almost every single person except for one said like, oh my gosh, my dogs have been the strangest they've ever been. Because like mine will go outside and they immediately like want to sit by the house to like come inside. One of them, she keeps looking up at the sky a lot. They sense, you know, the energy changing.
Yeah.
So,
and they're usually forewarned too, right?
They are.
You hear the ones of the tsunami that they take off, canary in the coal mine, yeah. But that seems reflective of human behavior too, like not wanting to go outside and wanting to go back in the house too. And
well, they keep telling me, like yesterday I was getting the message that I need to drive there.
Yeah, I
that
think
I
so
should
too.
drive to New Madrid. Well, then my
investigate,
light came on last night. I don't know how I'm going to work that out, guys, but we'll
my
figure it out.
goodness.
It's a 2-hour and 20-minute drive.
Okay.
And so they show me going out there and just like meditating
Yeah.
and then driving back home.
Feeling into it, and you know, you can do it remotely, but it's not the same as actually being on site. Because when you go to those places, sometimes things get activated, right? And it's a different type of experience than doing it remotely. Yeah.
And then I also worry, I don't know, I kind of worry that what if I go there and do some stuff and then something shifts?
Well, what I would do is set an overarching intent to only be for the well-being of all,
That's a good
and
idea.
only have an effect that's in alignment and allowed by cosmic law, true cosmic law. That way, our ego can't screw anything up. Can't have any effect unless it's in alignment with cosmic law or allowed by it, right?
Yeah.
And it's for the well-being of all. So that way, it's kind of a fail-safe, like an overarching everything.
It's kind of like when I do Reiki, I like to say, you know, to let the energy come in at the highest vibration that I can tolerate.
Yes.
Kind of like
that's
so
a common one. I mean,
from
that's a
the
good
earth.
one.
Please allow the healing energy to come in as high as she can tolerate.
Yes, and also whoever is getting the treatment too. You know, you say that as well, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and I do it for myself, and then I do it for whoever my client is at the time.
That seems to happen naturally anyway, but just saying that out loud is kind of like a relief and just kind of lets people know what's going on, right?
Well, and like you said, I mean, it's that intention, because everything, it's all about the intention and the energy behind it. And the universe does know when we aren't matching, when all the things aren't matching up, and it throws everything off.
It
However,
can.
we don't catch on a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see that, but it can also be like, it just could be a learning process, right? Because it's all, I think it all works out in the end. Although, but the thing is, with the intent is so important because, you know, even everything I feel is driven by intent. Even things that are our habits, you know, things that we don't even think about. It's just routine that we do all the time, same thing all the time. But at one point, there was an intent behind that, right? So just think about even brushing your teeth. Well, there was an intent, you know, never think about it or bring it consciously, but at one point, okay, this is for health, you know, this is for health, you know, this is for self-care. But even if you or your family never said that before. I know, doesn't it?
I'm like, gosh, it smells like, it almost smells like ham and beans, which I don't eat ham and beans. My mom would make that all the time, but follow that
You get distracted.
smell. I know, I'm like a little puppy dog. I'm like, where is that?
It can go back generations, you know, where that intent was first sent, and then just becomes a routine from our ancestors. So it just seems everything is
Well,
is
and
set by
that's kind of the
intention.
thing too. Yeah, like you can go back to when that intent was set, and just like how past life trauma follows us. You know, if we don't set the intention to heal and release that trauma, it's going to keep following us until
it just goes on
we do.
autopilot. It stays unconscious. They say all your trauma is compartmentalized in the body and it's stored away, not consciously, until you have time to deal with it. But eventually, it's going to come up for healing. You know, it's just a matter of time.
Well, and if you don't listen to it, that's when your body starts getting sick.
Absolutely,
and shutting
that's a
down.
Great point. Yeah.
You know, because I know like with you know, anger stores a lot in like the liver and the pancreas, colon, like all those areas. And so many people are dying from those kinds of cancers because they've stored. And here's the thing too, they might be on the outside totally happy-go-lucky.
Right.
But if they have anger they've not dealt with, and it's here,
absolutely.
it poisons them.
And anger is such a tricky beast because it's a double-edged sword. You don't want to repress it. The thing is, though, if you're not in a conducive environment, and start coming up, well then, that's going to harm, it could have potential to harm people around you, right?
Well, and
but
how
also
many
that,
of us are
once
in a conducive...
Right,
A
exactly.
lot of us have that anger because of our environment.
Exactly. So this is one benefit of this quarantine type thing, is people can go and work on that. If I feel that's the most important thing they should be working on.
This has been a good chance.
It's gonna go.
Yes.
Yeah. But then also with the anger is, if you start bringing it up, well then if you keep feeding it, then it's just gonna keep going and amplifying and it can get stronger until you take your foot off the gas, right? So that's another potential downfall. So it's like either way, it's a tricky way to deal with. So one of the best ways I found is if working on it in isolation. You can have murderous rage as long as you're by yourself, contained, and not acting on it, right? It's completely okay to feel that, but anger is just like, it's also, if it's directed towards somebody else, it's like picking up a hot coal and wanting to throw it at them. Well, who's going to get burnt, you know?
Right.
They don't really care.
Well, and honestly, like, everything is a mirror. And the more that I think about that, the more I see that play out. And a lot of our anger stems from grief, a sadness, a fear, and it's easier for us to put the anger cloak on because anger keeps people away.
Defense,
But when we are, fearful of something or grieving or sad, that leaves us vulnerable. And so when we're vulnerable, then we're able to be those things again, and that's the thing. But that energy, if that's what we're thinking about, then it's what just keeps cycling around.
What you focus on, you give energy. That's another thing. It all boils down to fear, right? There's all emotions come down to love or fear, and fear is an illusion. The only fears we're born with, they say, is fear falling backwards. I guess you don't crack your head open, and then loud noises. I think there might be a couple other ones, but everything else is learned, right?
Probably heights.
Heights. Right. That's a learned thing too, because kids aren't. Until you tell kids about that, they don't really know,
Yeah, they're usually jumping off fences and out of trees.
Unless there's some kind of past life thing.
But, that's the thing too. I do feel that a lot of fears that we have are from past life experiences.
That could be too, yeah.
And not even fear, but even like a strange drawing too. So for instance, Bluffs. The Bluffs I'm always really drawn to them, but also I have a severe fear of heights. But in my past life, one of my past lives, I jumped off of the bluff. So I think that's where in this life, because I hadn't healed that, which I'm still working because I don't know how, I'm still not over the height thing, but that's kind of the, once you heal that, then it shouldn't really bother you anymore. And if it does, then there's another aspect that needs to be addressed.
You get the mound building cultures around here. There's all kinds, along the river here, and their ancient society. Thing though, with the mirror, going back to the mirror, we talked about this before. So eventually, instead of seeing, having other people's density mirrored back to us, we can eventually get to the point where we see the light of our own divinity mirrored back to us, right?
Well, yeah, because it's all about me matching your vibration. The universe brings you the people, places, and things that match the vibration that you are at.
Well, and also the stuff that we're here to learn and work on
all
too,
of it.
Right? Yeah,
all
because
of it.
we can't really escape getting away from what we're here to learn and go through, right? It's going to present itself sooner or later anyway.
Or we have to keep
repeating it, right? We talked about that, the spiral staircase.
And that's the thing. That's the thing with past lives. Why it's strange to me that so many people don't actually believe in them.
I don't think it's required to believe. You can have evidence of that in your life. You don't even have to look at past lives. What keeps repeating in your life over and over again? It doesn't really matter where it comes from.
Yeah, even if we want to deal with this life alone,
now.
Absolutely.
So if you can heal it in this life without having past life memories at all, because if you heal it now, it clears up timelines from the past, I feel. It could be easier to access if you know right away, but the danger with that, though, is some people start dwelling on the past lives,
So
right?
here's the
so
thing.
it just becomes so they start taking on an identity from these past lives, which I don't feel is healthy either. Just to get the information to heal, I think is good. We can't necessarily go back and relive those and live in the past, right? But to
Right.
have that information to change now and going forward.
So that's what I feel, because like Spirit's definitely saying that the knowledge of past lives is important to have. Because I mean, yeah, you're right. Whatever we keep cycling through this life is from a past life, but it is important to know more about that past life and to heal, because it's not just about really you at that point. Because, you know, the whole point in going back into the past life is almost like healing the entire root ball.
Seems like people that are on an awakening path, it's a really common experience just to remember past lives. Not necessarily even have to going in and digging in, but just having memories of them too,
I
right?
didn't ever
It
go
seems
in
pretty-
and dig mine. They just, you know,
Oh, really? Wow.
over the course of years, they would just kind of, you know, I'd get a little bit of this or a little bit of that. It wasn't until these past, I would say, 1.5 to 2 years, everything started just coming together and making sense.
I have these images that I can't really discern if they're maybe past lives or not. You know, I don't have the discernment to tell if it's just kind of a random memory, if it's maybe a contact experience, if it's some kind of, you know, insert or remote influence. There's so many different possibilities. What are your, like, the body of your past lives?
So
Female,
the
similar fate?
main one that I came back in this life to heal, yes, because I was Native American. That's what's kind of not strange, but you know, like I'm in this life now and I still have a lot of those. There's a lot of characteristics of Native American that I can still see that I carry.
I see that too. in your
You know,
facial
because
features,
yeah, and that's a thing, like my skin color,
Yep.
you know, the cheekbones, the
yep.
hair, just a lot of things like that. When I did my DNA, you know, there's no anything Native American in our bloodline at all.
Wait,
I
did
think.
you actually get a scientific test, or you
I
go
did.
in? Oh,
yeah,
you did?
yeah,
Huh.
through 23andMe.
Interesting. I think that doesn't really invalidate it, though. I don't
No,
know.
it doesn't,
No,
because
yeah.
honestly, like that's blood,
Exactly.
and energy's different.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of us, we are actually more connected because of our energetic connections than we are our blood connections.
Absolutely. Yeah, some people talk about soul family, you know.
And that's part of what we're trying to like dig through in this life, is to find those people that we connect with, because it's, you know, we all connect. It's just one great big puzzle.
This is such a fascinating question, because you talk about tribe, you know, and then you talk about blood relatives, then you talk about soul family, star seeds, and galactic heritage, like what star systems we come from, what more genetics we have from different races and stuff galactically.
So do you know anything about that for you?
Well, I had a reading once, and she said I come Octurus. I came here via
So, like,
by way of
Arcturian?
Arcturian. But I
Okay.
don't know. But I don't know if that's how I got in here through that, or if I actually have heritage through that. Supposedly, I haven't dug in that. I find that stuff fascinating.
Yeah.
But it can also be a sidetrack too, because people get so deep into that, and you know, what do we need to work on here and now is just as important as all that. It helps fill in a lot of gaps.
Yeah,
It can
that's the
help
thing. Like,
understanding.
you're not learning
But-
it for no reason.
Right, that's true. But it's all about we're clinging to that and we're making that more important than what we can affect here and
Oh,
now.
absolutely.
Too, right?
But
yeah.
honestly, that's that would be something that needs to be healed.
Possibly.
That
yeah.
would be, I mean, because like addiction, that's very much an addiction.
Absolutely.
And addiction doesn't always take on the form of, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Absolutely not. I mean, for me, my biggest addiction is thought forms. You know, it was for the longest time when I was in college and stuff. You know, I would, instead of just interacting with people, I would just withdraw, be more introverted, and just
Go
get high
over
on
everything
information.
and-
Right?
yeah,
like
yeah.
a nerd, totally nerd
Yeah,
out. You know,
but
so.
that's probably a defense mechanism for
It
you.
is. Yeah, it's substituting probably for a need.
You
unmet
having to
need,
put
yeah.
yourself out there, and you know, it's like, this is
It's
my
so much.
safe place.
Yes, exactly. It's my security blanket.
And
yeah.
that's what people do. And you know, like I talk to clients about, and especially like right now in the summertime, you know, I have a lot of friends that'll go and be like, oh, I read X amount of number of books this summer, which is really great, but most of them are like romance novels and all this stuff. What did you learn? You're reading these things as an escape, period.
Yep.
And if you keep doing things in excess, to escape from something. Like anything that you do can take on that addiction.
Yep.
Shopping, you know, whatever.
Yep.
If you're running from something that needs to be healed,
Absolutely.
finding something else to like cover that up, then whatever it is, it could be a book, it can be you sew, it can be you volunteer, but if
Shopping,
you're not facing your
status,
shit,
But then again, we often can't go too far on the other extreme where we have to have some enjoyment and some social connection too. Right? That's really rare for somebody to have to worry about. You know, have to be concerned about that. Some people, not very many. Though,
ideally, though, you know, we all learn how to have a nice balance. But that's the thing.
Very key.
I talk to clients. We talk about being both, you know, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, or vice versa. Some feminine people get really upset because they're like, well, I'm the divine feminine. But it's like, we're really supposed to embody both aspects, you know, because we don't really need anything else other than what's here. And it's learning how to balance that, because like not every day are you gonna get up and everything's just gonna line up like it needs to, and so you have to be able to adjust and adapt. You know, some days are a little bit quicker than others. That's a thing. Actually, lately I have been manifesting things like really in a really quick way, and not even intentionally, but like, so the other night when my check engine light came on the first time, Sunday night, I guess it was, I had a dream that it went off. Like I was getting in the car and I started up and then it went off.
Precog.
Yeah, and so then I told my friend who was gonna help me with taking it in about the dream, and then that was actually the morning of, I know, what is that? That was actually the morning of the night it went off, right?
I don't know what's inside that, what's going on there. Anyway.
But yeah, so then it actually ended up going off, and then I was like, I started crying just because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. But then a lot of things have just since been kind of, and there's a 2-2. That was the numbers I was seeing yesterday. So like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like
my
some
license
things...
plates was 222 in Columbia.
Really?
FAA
oh, how funny.
222.
How funny. But yeah, I just feel like something really big is starting to like shift, and I don't know what it is. And I think also that it has to do with the fault line, and I really do believe that it has to shift or something in order for whatever needs to come up and out to come up and out. I think that's going to help heal a lot of the pain that some of these souls walking around here have.
You'll have to go and investigate and let me know what comes to you.
I will.
Well, I wouldn't say the precog thing. Mine is really quick. You know, I have the dreams like that, but that's not as common for me as like the like a few moments before something happens. I'll just kind of get the information. That is it that information that makes the thing happen, or is it just kind of a warning, or not like a synchronicity, or is it saying, okay, it just kind of shows you what's going to happen. You can't really do anything about it. It's just, this is going to happen.
I am hearing from Spirit is it's for your validation, because you doubt yourself a lot.
Oh yeah, because either way, it's validating. You know?
Yeah.
You don't have to. I don't have to figure it out if I somehow made that happen or if it's just a warning. But yeah, that's great.
But
Sarah.
I also hear
that,
they're saying that, you know, they're letting you know that you're on the right path.
Oh, yep. Because that's what synchronicity. That for sure. Synchronicity is just kind of.
And that's something we miss.
Yeah.
We miss that a lot because we get so wrapped up in,
exactly.
And that's the thing, like when we're shifting out of a place that's really bad or hurtful for us, and it may be a scary change to have to do, it's important to notice those synchronicities. That way you know that whatever this big thing that you're getting ready to do is the right thing. Synchronicities happen to let you know whatever change that you are making or whatever thing that you're thinking about, this is that you're on the right path. And it's really, but see, when we're wrapped up in like negativity, and when we're wrapped up in grief and anger and sadness and anxiety and all these things, we don't get those.
Or if they do, you don't notice them.
Exactly.
Well,
right. You know, we're fearful of the change. We're this, we're that, and we miss the lights from the universe saying this is good for you. And so a lot of us stop our forward momentum, and then that thinking
Right.
overthinking. Like you said, thought forms. I feel like a lot of us, especially being introverts, are very guilty of, but I like how you put it, thought forms instead of being like overthinker.
That's part of the journey too, is to go through that process of learning how that is, that you're not in alignment, that this is how that operates, and to get that contrast, to know what is it like to be in alignment and have synchronicities. If that happened all the time, you wouldn't really recognize or appreciate that. So you have to spend some time stewing in your own crap.
Here's the thing though about that is, with you, I feel that I honestly think that a lot of it wasn't even, they were like thought forms or whatever, but you've gotten like guidance messages for people for a long time. When I was younger, I was inundated with them all the time, but I didn't know what it was. I just always thought it was me in my head.
Yep, same here.
Dissecting everything, but now I know that what I was actually getting was all their shit that they had going on.
It's an empathic intuition
Absolutely.
Of what they're kind of tuning into, what they're going through, and knowing what
tapping
they're going
into
through.
their energy.
Right, and then also getting intuitive guidance on what's going on and what could remedy and stuff. It's so validating too, because not too many people have such an emphasis on their inner voice and inner guidance as predominant as we have.
Right.
A lot of people think more in images too.
See, and I don't.
Yeah,
I
don't either.
don't
I'm
see,
more language based.
Yeah, I'm more language based. And that's kind of sometimes why I struggle in meditation, because I don't really see how people see.
Exactly.
What I am, like when I'm seeing things, like mine are really just like swirls of color, feelings, that kind of thing.
Yep.
It's really hard for me to actually see.
Yes, I really have to be deep in meditation and set that intention and keep the concentration on a visual thing to do things like that. Otherwise, it's mainly language, right? So I just use that as a meditation object too. It's like listening to a podcast or radio. You just sit there, and that's the object of meditation, just to tune in and listen to that. And then try not to get too involved in it too, because then you just lose contact with everything except for that. Well, sometimes it's good to have that skill to totally be involved in them. Other times it's okay just to sit back and
tap out.
Well, just to have it go on, like a radio playing. But then you're also listening to other things, or you have feelings too. That's one form of the mindfulness of that type of thing. Yeah. Okay, so when I want to go back to a bigger picture, this is what I've been reading of Randy Green. She's a Danish clairvoyant. I got one of her new books called Higher Awareness Lifestyle Philosophy, and she says during that 2020 to 2021, it's kind of like these the higher councils have agreed in late 2019. During this period, people are going to be kind of divided into 5 different groups. There's going to be one that keeps going on she doesn't use the word ascending, kind of progressive path. She's saying where the sun and everything is going to be shifting more into 4D. One of the other groups is going to be the people that are going to try to make it in the first density, but there's also the group that's behind kind of some of the DNA manipulation that they're going to try to do that with genetics and stuff, but they're going to try to make it with all the different earth changes coming. They want to stay in this reality, but they don't want to keep going into progressive worlds. Then there's going to be another group where they just don't have any viable genetics, where they're going to go into states of evaporation and go off into their own place. One of the other groups is the regressive races. So they're the ones that just pretty much try to keep re-looping time, to keep stalling, because they don't have a light source from within. They have to get energy from without. So they keep doing all these tricks to keep prolonging their life, but they know eventually they're going to fade away too. And the other group is the rehabilitation. And I think this is the zone, if this has anything, it's going to be where maybe I fit in, where we're going to go into healing and rehabilitation, so we're able to go into progressive worlds after this happens. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Randy Green. I think I sent one of her videos.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
She's really really kind of a more masculine, really scientific kind of base, but she's clairvoyant. She has all this knowledge about all this stuff.
I definitely feel that something like that is what's happening. There's different, divisions. The people that aren't going on are dying, and they're dying from COVID. They're dying from suicide. There's lots of suicides right now. There's lots of COVID stuff, obviously, right now. All of it's happened. I know that COVID is a real thing, but I do believe that it is happening for a completely different reason, and that it is supposed to run its course. I don't know if anyone is familiar with what happens when you try to twist karma and try to stop things from happening. That's a
So
thing.
they say the Mandela effect is because of that. A lot of people are saying. They talked about the Mandela
Yes,
effect,
that-
right?
yeah, that
and
was
that's what's that the timeline strangeness that is because
That
of
makes
things like
sense.
that.
That
People
makes
trying to
sense.
manipulate things. What she's saying is that the CV is an attempt by I forget who to go in and do genetic changes. She doesn't agree with it and don't think it's the right way. Is that it's going to go in and alter genetics, trying to right some wrongs, but she said it's not going to be a perfect solution. It's way over my head, so
Because
people have to look
honestly,
into this and do their
there's
own
going to be a
research,
group that's going to come in and they're going to try to pick and choose where they heal.
Oh, that's another thing she was saying, that some of the people that the regressed races are locked down to their jurisdictions, so these she talked about a new grand cycle. So the energies from this new grand cycle are going to come in and help along this whole process too. So they're supposedly like quarantined or like set in their spaces. These new energies can come in and do their working. And I think one of the years is 2135, where I think the first density she's saying is going to eventually go out, and then by then all these different groups will be established. I don't know.
That's a thing too. It's really hard because like being a psychic and a clairvoyant, because everything, it just kind of also depends on how we interpret
That's true too.
what we're getting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because like with me, I don't see a lot of things, so that's why it's hard sometimes when I do readings, because like what I'm hearing them say to me and what I'm relaying, it doesn't really make any sense at first. So I did a reading once and I kept seeing like a motorcycle, like a Harley motorcycle. And I kept telling the lady, they were showing me a motorcycle, what? And she couldn't figure out anything about why a motorcycle. Then come to find out his name was Harley.
That's funny.
And so that was something
Did she know right away, or is it later?
It took us a while to figure.
It's the same way with me. Sometimes they're really apparent. Other times it takes for sit and like, oh yeah, obviously.
Right.
Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's multi-layered too. It can mean one thing and another and another.
Well, and that too. That usually happens a lot with the readings. When I do them, I usually tell my clients to record them. Just because after, you might have one message today, but then when you are drawn to it in 4 months from now, or even next week, and you re-listen to it, there's going to be something there that's different, like a whole new message, a whole new takeaway.
It's just like a good piece of music. Some of it you can listen to again and just hear
It's like
certain
timeless.
things you've never heard before each time, or just keeps
And
as
they
we
laugh.
evolve too.
They laugh about the timeless thing because we don't have time.
Well, yeah, ultimately time is just an idea that we all agree upon, right?
Well, it's
like we talked,
something
what's
we
the
created.
speed? What's the speed of time? Nobody can say that. It's
so
relativity.
I just read yesterday that the way they did it was they based it on, which who knows, because when was it created?
Right.
But they based it on like the sun and how it laps.
Right.
And then
But I mean,
divided it by.
But it all depends on how precise your instruments are too.
Exactly, and honestly, that's why like some days time goes really fast, and then other days it goes by so slow. But that's because it doesn't really.
And I think consciousness might play into it. It's one of our experiences here, time. This kind of weird experience of time, because other realms and stuff, they don't have that experience, right? Future and past are converging simultaneously from this point. It's all accessible.
Well, and that's what they
now.
say with the deja vu. A lot of the deja vu feelings that we have are because we are going through a period of time that is either past or future to us. That's why it feels so familiar.
It boggles my mind. You talk about timeline and time travel, even through consciousness and timeline manipulation, collapsing timelines, jumping timelines.
That too,
timeline
with the Mandela
genocide.
effect. Depending on where
stuff.
we were, I'm on quite a few different boards, and some people can actually even almost sense in their bodies when they've shifted.
People talk about relooping, time dilation, missing time that we just don't remember. Some people that you're really in linear time, but then they have this experience where they can't remember certain times, and then what happened to that? What happened?
Where to go?
Right. What happened there? time really isn't linear either. That's one aspect of it. It's more spiral, they talk about, right? Because it doesn't.
Well, like everything else.
Right. Just look at our conversation here. There's nothing linear
Right.
about this.
With time, we needed time because we had to have jobs. We had to have meetings. We had to have, like if
Agreed
we
upon.
actually lived a completely, totally spiritual life where we had nothing to do, nowhere to be.
Right.
Time, it would be okay, it's dark and it's light.
Yes. The only thing would be within space, though. If you wanted to kind of have more of a willful approach to it, if you wanted to meet at a certain...
You would be energetically connected. Like,
Yeah,
I do feel
that too.
we aren't in tune with our bodies.
Absolutely.
We've been conditioned to be in tune with everything outside of our body.
Absolutely.
When you are fully in body and fully in conscious, that's why, so they're telling, now I'm getting, okay. So, a lot of the premonitions you get, that is also that you are in full, total, complete alignment with all of the layers of yourself.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so back to the premonitions and how, when you think about somebody and then all of a sudden they call you, that is energy. You put that energy out there, they picked it up, we would know when to meet. I don't even know how to explain how that would happen.
Well, thoughts wouldn't have to be involved.
Thoughts wouldn't have to be involved.
No, it would just
connected.
happen, right? Exactly. And that's the thing. I was doing a Zen study yesterday, and they're saying that your body and things happen without you having anything to do with it, without you having to say, okay, this is what I want to do, and I want to move my arm here. That can come after what actually is truth and reality. We can do both, just like our heart. Our heart beats, we don't know how it beats. All the processes in our cells happen without our control or without us telling them to do things, right?
Well, energy has a memory, but I feel like it's fluid too.
That's right.
That's why some people can't move their arm. That's why some people, their heart stops, because the energy just stops. We are as alien or as computerized or as robotic as, people don't understand how this is all. I don't even understand.
Well, no,
I talk about
exactly,
it, they tell me a bunch of stuff that I don't even understand, but yet somehow I think in my soul I kind of do. Get it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to. You don't have to have a conscious knowing of it. At least a way you can express.
I don't know about that. If you go out there in the world, they don't listen to a damn thing you say unless you have. But that's part of the problem too with the world is that they want black and white, and that's the thing about the universe is it can't really work for you and in your life unless you trust the unknown.
Right. Mystery. If you knew everything down scientifically or whatever, where would the mystery be either?
Right.
No matter how advanced we get, spiritually, scientifically, whatever, I think there'll probably just always be mystery. Otherwise, if we solve every single mystery, I don't think there would be much a point of existence.
As we go, we learn more. And every time we turn, the universe is bringing us to another place that we need to learn.
That's true. We're on a path of progression, right?
So there's the progressive group.
Absolutely.
If you look around, not everyone is going to make that choice.
Right.